So one of the best Knicks players that not only embodies the heart and soul of the franchise, but as well as the city, I did a sit down with Carmelo Anthony, aka my man John Starks, and he touched on his crazy roller coaster ride into the NBA. And this was the perfect synergy because Carmelo Anthony's show, low key, within the media sphere, is something that Spike Lee has always mentioned about Brooklyn being the People's Republic. But that 7 p.m. in Brooklyn show has become the People's Republic for anything regarding the Knicks. So just dialing this back in with John Starks, keep in mind that he went through many ups and downs, not only on the amateur circuit, but as well as his journey within the NBA. He was always a moment away from being around the right kind of personnel or just coaches that would believe in him versus other people that would just completely bail on him or just overlook him. And a lot of that was self-inflicted. That fiery energy that all New Yorkers love, Starks had it within him, but it had to be honed in for the right coach. And that's where Pat Riley came in perfectly. But along the way, there were many people that believed in him. Larry Brown, who gave him the tryout in San Antonio. Matter of fact, the coach that started it all was Ken Trickey when he saw Starks performing at an intramurals. But even after he got on a junior college team, he still wasn't getting minutes like that until in garbage time, he had a mean baseline dunk over the brother of a former NBA star, Dennis Johnson Jr. He went on in 1987 to lead his junior college to the state championship game. And that's where in the following year, in 1988, he went to Oklahoma State and he caught the attention of Larry Brown in a matchup against Kansas. So he had a lot of ups and downs within the amateur circuit, and it even translated in his opportunities within the NBA. Larry Brown couldn't offer him a full guaranteed contract, so he went on and took an offer from Golden State, but then he bumped heads with Coach Don Nelson, the same way the Knicks ended up bumping heads with him later on in the mid-90s. And even after getting cut from that fiasco, John Starks in 1990 in a CBA All-Star game, that was basically the G League of that time. And the Pistons from that game was about to give him a 10-day contract, but that fiery energy that we love John Starks for, he ended up bumping into a ref, so the Pistons reneged on that 10-day deal. Again, New York City loving that fucking energy. The GM of the Knicks at the time, Al Bianchi, he saw something in him. So the Knicks called him up to the training camp right before the season, and just when you think things were about to go good, the Knicks were going to cut him. But he got hurt during the training camp, and under the NBA rules at the time, they could not cut a player had he gotten injured. And that's how he got that 1-year minimum contract, and everything pretty much from there led up to the history that we all know. So John Starks definitely sat down with Melo and touched base on a lot of his journey, and this sit down could not have happened at any other better spot than at the curated vibes of Carmelo Anthony at 7 p.m. Brooklyn, aka the People's Republic of anything Knicks. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
How we practice every single day. We was talking about this the other day. Who's tape doing shoot around?
Yeah.
Nobody tape doing shoot around. We tape and we practice.
Yeah.
You know, especially if we coming off some losses like we had, Knicks just had.
Right.
Oh, we know shit, there's gonna be one of these damn practice for shoot around. Yeah. And you coming with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're building that toughness, you know, that you got to have here in New York, because this is not an easy city to play in, you know. And you watch players, they say if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. You look at Sam Donald.
Yeah. He got chewed up.
You can go through so many. Look at Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
You can go through. You can go through it, bro. You know what I mean? Because it teaches you, you know, that mentality of being tough, and you're gonna go through some stuff here that you probably not gonna go through in other cities.
Yeah.
So I tell people, I didn't play in the Bay Area. I didn't play in Chicago for a week. I played in Utah. Nothing like this city here. You know what I mean? And it gives you that mental toughness that you need in order to make it. If you saw Coach Riley in practice, he had that chaos in practice.
He's chaotic. He's chaotic. He's chaotic.
Yeah.
But he's all, you know, that structure of, you know, that culture, that structure, and you ready to go.
Yeah.
It's like, how did y'all meet in the middle with that?
Yeah. So one thing about Coach Riley, he always wanted to kind of put a bubble around us in a sense. Like now you see like cameras and stuff in practice, and and certain practices that you see around the league. None of that would fly with him, period. You know what I mean? He keep the media out. We're in here as a group, 12 guys, the coaches, and we focusing on what we have to get done. That was his mentality. You know what I mean? Block out the outside noise. You know, the best advice when I came here was from Trent Tucker. He said, John, he started to see me have a lot of success. He said, John, you going to start to get all these, you know, people talking about you, this and that, this and that. He said, do not read the newspaper. Don't listen to talk radio, because you let all that outside stuff get inside your mind and you take it out there on the court.
Now, it's very interesting. Trent Tucker is the one that gave John Starks that advice, because when he got initially hurt and John Starks was getting more playing time and eventually going ahead of him in that depth chart, that's when a lot of the New York media started really critiquing John Starks. They didn't understand him being ahead of Trent Tucker in that depth chart. It's really the Knicks coach before Pat Riley got there, John McLeod, who gave John Starks quality minutes. And Pat Riley the following season in 1991, just him being there, it made sense because Pat Riley understands what it meant to be in John Starks' shoes. His journey with the Lakers, he had to be on point, in shape, and perfect in order to remain with the team. And as we all could see, he applied those same principles to the 80s Lakers throughout their championship runs, the early 90s Knicks, and the Miami Heat present day. Historically, the NBA journeymen have had a huge impact on the league, not necessarily on the court, but in NBA front offices, and even with the current day Knicks, with Rick Brunson passing along those very same principles to Jalen Brunson. And that's how we see the player that we have today.
And for my 8 years here in New York, I didn't read a newspaper. I didn't, listen to talk radio. Either I got that from like people talking or something like that.
Right.
Other than that, I was so focused on just like winning. And Coach Riley, everything that he set up for us as a team, as an organization, everything that we had to do was all about winning. How we flew, how we ate, what you're doing within your personal life, everything, So he had to try to get control of all of that because he know we had to be the most focused team out there on the court.
Yeah.
Because we wasn't the most talented team. Outside the few players that we had, we were just some rough riders.
Y'all was together though.
We was together.
Yeah, y'all was together.
And Pat Riley looking at the Detroit Pistons, the bad boy Pistons, right before he became the head coach of the Knicks, he took some more of their blueprint and applied it to the Knicks.
Together. And in order for you to win at this level, you have to be in sync with one another on and off the court.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to, understand that, you can do certain things on the court, then you get off the court, everybody go their own separate way.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a team.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to come together, eat. You got to be able to talk about personal problems. You got to be there for your teammate. And that's just the way we are. Even to this day, I have guys calling me, talking about certain things and what's not, but I got to be there for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They my teammate.
That very same philosophy is something that Phil Jackson applies to any team that he's coached in the past. JJ Redick recently talked about how he had Luka as well as the other Laker players share more personal stories, some of their favorite everyday things to do off the court to kind of bring that synergy with the players a little bit closer. That's something that he has learned from Phil Jackson. When it comes to Phil Jackson and Pat Riley, doesn't get talked about too much, but they were playing a lot of psychological warfare games during the Knicks and Bulls series throughout the early 90s in these press conferences. A lot of things that they would say would kind of sway the referees to kind of officiate the games in a certain way. The NBA today has moved away from coaches making statements like this, but those two understood what they were doing in the back of the minds of the referees trying to gain an edge in those series. Even though Pat Riley at the time was way more successful than Phil Jackson, I believe at the time he understood that Phil Jackson was going to be a great head coach going forward. And I'll leave a link in the description below of a segment I covered before, as Carmelo Anthony as well as Shaquille O'Neal spoke on some of these psychological games from Phil Jackson. But continuing on, John Starks touched base on perhaps one of the greatest Knicks of all time, Patrick Ewing, that relationship dynamic as they worked their way through their come up in the early 90s. Some people may view it at the time when the Knicks had traded away Mark Jackson right before the start of that 92-93 season. And they got some more forward depth with Charles Smith and also another point guard in Doc Rivers. John Starks' season right before the trade was making much more noise coming off the bench, averaging a career high at the time, almost 14 points a game. But right after that trade in the 92-93 season, he went to average 17 points a game. And of course, 93-94 is his breakout season, making the All-Star team averaging 19 points per game and almost 6 assists.
But what he gave me was a lot of confidence that he believed in me.
Yeah.
Because Patrick don't trust a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you have to earn his trust. And so when I knew that I earned his trust, is because he asked our trainer to put my locker right next to him.
Uh-huh.
And you know how special that is as a star player, because he believes in you, he confides in you. And so we used to talk all the time during the game, what we doing, this and that. And so that's when I knew that, okay, I didn't got, in his
that circle. Yep.
And so, and after that, we just kind of rolled with it. You know what I mean? And so we used to, do everything together, and so I have a lot of respect for him. He understood that I was just all about winning.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care about the awards or anything like that. Every time I stepped out on the court, it was just about solely going out there, winning and playing for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my mentality was. And so he appreciated that. People don't understand the things that he had to go through in order to take that court every single night.
Yeah.
The pain that he had to deal with, I don't know if I could have dealt with what he dealt with, as far as with his knees and stuff. But he felt a belief that he had to be on the court as our leader every single night and for the fans. And the fans should, I think now they really truly appreciated what he brought to the table.
Yeah.
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 It's funny because even though Ewing is not in my era, I've always understood exactly who he was, because he's never really had an all-star alongside him, but yet he kept the Knicks relevant for well over a decade. And keep in mind that most players that he lost to in the playoffs, Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon, they were NBA champions. And matter of fact, speaking of Hakeem, he took him to 7 games when Hakeem was Hakeem, winning Defensive Player of the Year awards, winning MVPs and Defensive Player of the Year award back-to-back. My man Ewing was putting in work, and he is one of them. Make no mistake about it. Even to this day, the Knicks haven't had a player on the same caliber since. Jalen Brunson, maybe I would say 5 to 6 more seasons. If he maintains his current course, he could put Ewing up to the test, but he still has a long way to go. Now, John Starks right here is going to talk about going up against MJ in the early 90s. Me, myself, as a youngin', I remember the first time I actually saw Michael Jordan take a L is when I went in the barbershop and I seen a big-ass poster of the dunk by John Starks. I remember even trying to compute Michael Jordan possibly taking an L. That same baseline dunk is not only remembered still to this day, but it's the very same scenario that actually catapulted John Starks into the NBA or even getting a look to even enter the league. Once again, in 1986, in garbage time, he went baseline and dunked on the brother of former Celtic star Dennis Johnson. And that's what caught the eye of Coach Ken Trickey to give John Starks a second look.
Woo! Where should I start? Probably from the first time I got a chance to play with him when I was coming off IR, play against him, I should say.
Yeah.
When I was coming off IR with the Knicks, and when I first got to the Knicks. And my first game off of IR was against Chicago. And my matchup obviously was Mike. And I always tell the story, is like he tried to post me up and I gave him an elbow in the back. He looked at me, he looked down like, before the end of the game, you're gonna be calling me Mr. Jordan, right? And so I ended up having a good game. I ran, he was getting ready to walk off the court. I ran up to it. I said, you didn't get Mr. Jordan that up, right? So it just kind of started from there.
Yeah.
One thing about our matchups, and I tell people this, unlike me and Reggie's matchup, our matchup is more of a competitive thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Me and Reggie's more divisive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I just, I just had a hate. And he had a hate for me. You know what I mean? I know this shit ain't out my system.
I love it. It's never gonna be out your system. It's all love. We can talk like it now.
Yeah. And but me and his was more of a competitive situation, man. And you know, we used to go at it, you know. And I used to tell Patrick, man, don't come help. He said, if I don't come help, he gonna score. I don't care. Let him score. Just shut everybody else down.
Yeah.
And obviously, he didn't hit me for about 55 a few times, but it's more of a competitive thing with him.
Right.
Man. I always tell people this: he's the most balanced athlete that I ever played against. It seemed like he was always on balance.
Yeah.
And one thing you knew about him, the game is never over with. Even when you think you got the game won, it's never over with him because he plays to the buzzer.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's something that I learned playing against him. And that was my mentality, is play to the buzzer. And he was just, his will, and you could just see it in guys' faces when they played against him. You know what I mean? Because you knew he's going to do something special.
Yep.
Every single time. It's coming down the stretch of games, you rarely see him make mistakes. And that's what you appreciated from a player standpoint, is that his precision on trying to close out games was so precise.
Yeah.
You know, I look at all the old tapes that we played in the games they beat us, and I'm watching the plays that he made. I'm like, dude, who makes those plays?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's hitting shots, whether it's making the correct passes, whether it's just getting guys wide open, you know what I mean? He always made the right play. And so,
now I don't want to sound like I'm too ahead of schedule right here, but if you listen back, he almost sounds like he's describing Jalen Brunson in crunch time situations. Teams around the league already know that they do not want to be with the Knicks mano-a-mano with the shot clock winding down and Brunson having the ball in his hands. That's the reputation our guy has kind of built up in the past couple of seasons. I'm just saying this shit has to be acknowledged.
It's funny because when I was watching, when he came back in 95?
Yep.
The end of 95. And I can remember watching the game before when they was playing against the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta. And he hit the game-winning shot. I'm watching the game. I'm like, then he goes down and next game is against us. I'm like, because he was struggling up to that point, right? He woke up. I was like, he come to the Garden. You know how people are when they come to the Garden.
Of course.
Everybody had to put on their best show.
There was still a little part of you that thought like when he went to go play baseball, like, all right, maybe he's not like the great Mike yet. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that guy's gone. But that game was you already saw it.
I already saw it.
He'd have been a part of it. He's like, this looks very familiar.
He played in Scottie Pippen's charity game.
Yep.
And this is the first time I got a chance to play with him.
Mm-hmm.
So Scottie had put me and him on the same team.
Yep.
And Scottie had kind of like stacked his team a little bit. And I remember Mike coming out of the locker room, and he's looking at the team. He said, just pass me the ball. He's been playing baseball.
Right.
Bro,
right.
he's been playing baseball the whole time. Man, he came out there and scored Scottie. Him and Scottie was just on the island by themselves. And everybody just moved to the side. Oh, man, he scored Scottie. I think he had like 50-some points.
Sheesh.
And he walked up to Scottie and told him, don't you ever stack the team against me again.
Yeah.
And walked out the court. Oh, man.
Damn.
Like, that's what makes him Michael Jordan.
Man,
you know what I mean?
That's what Scottie kept talking about.
Come on back.
Come on back, yeah.
Come on back. We all felt that
Scottie
one, bro.
Matthews, man. That was just like, that's when I saw, like, when you see great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the greatest
that he
to ever
could step
do it.
off a baseball field,
Yeah.
come play, because they was having trouble selling tickets. Then I guess, Scott obviously asked Michael to play.
Yeah.
And as soon as they announced he was playing them,
Skyrocketed.
within the hour.
Yeah.
all the tickets sold out within the hour. That's when you know you're around greatness, man. When you get appreciated like that and your name just like it's like here.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And no matter what you do, he's special in that way. Yeah, I have to say he's special in that way.
Even though y'all was like heavily competitive.
Yeah.
Like, there's times that you've spoken out in support of MJ.
Yeah.
Like, what made you feel like, okay, like enough is enough with whatever that was going on? Like, I got to speak up. I feel like this is my time to hold somebody down, even though I compete with them every single night at the highest level. It's still humanity that's a part of this too.
Yeah.
And that's a brother of mine that I feel like I need to speak up about.
Yeah, it was, you talking about when he was going through the whole
In Atlantic City,
Atlantic City thing. Yeah, you know, and we just came out, we 2-0, that was the year of the dunk, obviously. And, you know, they was getting on him about, you know, going down to Atlantic City the night before the game and what have you, and what's the name. And so when we played them in Chicago, and me and him got into a little altercation out on the court. It wasn't nothing like we was gonna throw hands or anything like that. And then we was pushing each other, and they end up kicking me out the game.
Yeah.
Just for like, just, you know.
You knew there was a kicking Mike out there.
You, that whole thing. John, you out. Like, what? So
Hey, Mike, you good?
I was about to say, you know they're not kicking Mike out the game.
In Chicago, it's not happening. Kicked me out the game. So I'm back there in the locker room. I'm steaming, this and that. And the media come in, because I obviously know they going, what's the name? Then I just went off on them. And you know, I had to like say exactly what I felt that they was doing to him, which was unjust.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was saying that this man understands out of anybody in this league how to get ready to play a basketball game.
Yeah.
And y'all kind of overstepped their boundaries far as, you know, reporting on his personal life, which they got nothing to do with what he does on the court.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? However he gets ready off the court, that's his time away from the game, and he should deserve the respect out of everybody in this league to be able to relax the way he want to relax.
Yeah.
I said if Chicago had a problem with it, that's the team thing.
Yeah.
They don't have anything for y'all to report on this man's personal life and what he does to get ready for a basketball game.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure he know how to get ready for a basketball game.
Absolutely.
And I said, y'all need to keep it to the court. You know what I mean? And he appreciated that. He sent word through Patrick to apologize for whatever we was doing out there on the court.
Hey, he sent word through Patrick. That's another thing that doesn't get talked about too much. A lot of the 90s guys love to say nobody was friends. Yeah, guys were friends and hanging out during the offseason a lot. MJ, once again, he understands what kind of legendary player Patrick Ewing truly is. And the fucking media put a battery behind Jordan's back in this series for him to level up. I believe the Knicks were up 2-0. And they definitely put that spark in his back to get him on his vengeful shit.
He sent word through Patrick to apologize for whatever we was doing out there on the court. And
Right.
I appreciate that coming from him, because he didn't have to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I say as much as he done for this league, he deserves that quiet time in his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I got on the reporters about that, but they understood.
Yeah.
You know, one thing about reporters back then, once you approach them and you talk to them like they're a man,
People,
they understand, they get the point. So it was all cool from there.
Did that change how did that change the relationship or friendship after that moment?
I think he appreciated that, and I think our friendship grew after that.
Yeah.
It really did. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't about basketball.
Yeah.
This is about you as a human being.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? As a man. And so I think he truly, truly appreciate that. Even though once he stepped back on the court, I'm still trying to kick you. I know he was thinking the same thing. You know,
absolutely.
That's the way it is. You know what I mean? But you know, even to this day, you know, we have an appreciation for one another. Yeah, it really does.
I got to talk to you about the dunk. You mentioned it earlier. Legendary moment in the Garden.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's a legendary moment. You say you and Mike still talk?
He always tell me I didn't dunk on him.
Mike, you was in the frame, my guy. You was in the frame, so.
Hell yeah, Mike, you was in the frame. I remember looking at that shit as a kid. I couldn't believe Michael Jordan took a L. I was like, that can't be Jordan underneath there.
That's the definition of a poster. Shouldn't have jumped. Should have stayed on the ground.
You can't say it was Horace Grant.
I mean, Horace Grant got the worst of it. I mean, he was first,
you
but
can't say it's
yeah.
Horace Grant.
People, they forget Horace Grant. Who I dunked over. Mike, I tell people.
Hey.
Oh, man.
Damn.
If you run that whole clip, it's the most funniest thing.
Yeah.
Because
That's a sick clip, too, by
Yeah,
the
I
way.
know, right?
The whole clip.
So, what's the name? But you had to go all the way through it.
The play.
But they were sitting on the bench, right?
Yeah.
And the game wasn't over with. I think that put us up by 5, I believe, or something. And Horace Grant was like in shock. He just looking like stern. And Mike sitting over there, he's chewing his what's name. He still the game still in the balance. And he looked over and seen Horace Grant like in shock. He like pop. Tapped him on the head he's like, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
What are you doing?
We still got a chance to win this game.
What are you doing?
He's in shock, right?
Oh,
He's
you
in
ever seen
shock.
somebody dunk before?
Yeah,
It's not just like, yo, even as a kid, the how loud the guarding got
man.
off that dunk.
I think that's probably why he was in shock.
Oh,
The guard
man,
just
anybody would be in shock.
Yeah.
Anybody would be in shock. Like, I still to this day.
Way to hold Horace down. He was in shock at the noise, not the dunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Why you slap him, MJ?
You run that old clip and I'm watching it. It's like pop. Game ain't over with yet.
Oh, man.
Hey, Horace might need a new set of goggles, man, for that dunk that Starks laid down on him. Once again, I was a fucking kid just looking at that. I could not believe Michael Jordan took a L just looking at that poster. Shit, back then I would have thought it was AI. But it is what it is. John Starks throughout his career, he's always been an inch away from just having the wrong people around, like Don Nelson, bumping heads with the Detroit Pistons, reneging on that 10-day contract, and just being around the right people to see that spark. Knicks GM Al Bianchi, Pat Riley, Larry Brown, and most importantly, the initial coach that knew that there was something there, Ken Trickey. That fiery energy that Starks has, that we even see played out in the 76ers playoff series where he was just so hyped, just cheering the team on. But that same energy is what really got him into the league, while at the same time, it almost ruined him. But it is definitely a New York story. That's why we love guys like Starks. He embodies not only the city, but just American culture. The media, as well as the fans, are always dragging their favorite stars through a fucking ritual of just, let's see what you can do when your back is against the wall. Salute to Starks. If it was up to any of us, we'll have his jersey hanging in the rafters as one of the ultimate definitions of what it means to have the characteristics of being a Knick. You fellas definitely hit up the links in the description below. Check out my Knick True Story playlist. And also, as the season progresses, I will be breaking down a lot of the on-court nuances, as well as hearing from some of the players. So definitely check that out on the links in the description below. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.